Hi, my name's Steve, and today I'm going to show you proof of life on Mars, an Easter Island head, statues, and building ruins that you will not believe. Now, I found these a year and a half ago. I've been looking around on YouTube, documentaries, even Ancient Aliens. Nobody has this stuff. The problem is, it's in the most obvious place on Mars. And people just don't look in the most obvious place. And NASA must know that these things exist, but I don't know. They just aren't telling us, I guess. Anyway, what you do is you go to Google Earth, and in the upper left you click on View, and on the drop down you will click on Mars, and that'll take you right to here, to Mars. And you can see that Mars once had ancient oceans. There's just no doubt about it. The areas that don't have the meteor impacts are where the oceans were. In the areas that do, well, that was the land. The oceans are still there. They're just underground. And there are massive oceans underground. There's a lot of life on Mars. It just depends whether it's contagious or not, I guess. But anyway, getting back to the statues and the ruins. By the oceans here, that's where you'll find life anywhere in the universe, is by water, of course. And so what I did first is I saw that this outcrop, or this peninsula, there's a peninsula here right in the middle, and there's an ocean on the top, and there's an inlet on the bottom of the peninsula there. It looks like kind of like Florida. And the ocean part on the top is floor elevation is 7,200 feet. The ocean, the inlet on the bottom is 4,200 feet in elevation. So there's a 2,000 foot different elevation. So the inlet was far deeper than the ocean above it. I believe these canals, these lines right in the middle there, connected to two oceans, and evidently exchanging water, or maybe draining it off for irrigation to the right of those lines. Well, it was maybe cropland or something, I suppose. But anyway, the first thing I did was look for life along the water's edge, because that's where you're going to find buildings and things like that, just like on Earth, near the oceans. And so I zoomed in right here at this one place, and I found the first building that I found on Mars, I thought. And right here we have, well, it looks like maybe what was a marina or something right by the water. And there's some other things that look like they could have been buildings or something, but this looks like a building with columns or something spaced evenly, and the roof is collapsing. Now all these columns on these great big megalithic buildings like this are about 500 feet tall, with 300 feet being below the dust and 200 feet being maybe exposed. There's like 300 feet of dust on top of the building, so no wonder the roof is collapsing, but it probably was in some kind of disaster or something anyway. But to support that, you have to find more buildings and more proof of life. And so I went back to where I first caught my eye, and that was the canals running from one ocean to the other. So I kind of went up here, and I looked up the canal area a bit, and I went along it, and I went, wow, that's kind of neat. And this area right here caught my eye, and I went, wow, that is really, really cool. Because if you look at it close, you can see that there's something extremely odd about this spot. I was looking at it, and here it looks like it was scooped out with a ice cream scoop or something. And then it looks like it used to have a big roof on it that had big supports of stone that eventually eroded or caved in or something. And but it looks like it was probably an underground aquifer connection to the oceans or something. But then this thing caught my eye right to the right of the canal. Another building, except this one's even more defined than the other ones, than the other one I just showed you. Okay, this building has columns in the front and almost a rounded a rounded front on it, a little bit curved. So one column is offset from the other, but they're still spaced evenly, and you can tell that there's still some polish to them. I mean, they're still the same exact size each. This is not, and then right to the right of that is a little outcrop. It looks like an office or something with smaller columns and a little lower roof than the other roof. And to the left is a right angle, and to the right is looks like a statue of a dog or something. And there's kind of a sharp angles, and that's definitely some kind of a building. And then I saw this left angle here, and that looked very strange because it's smooth. The little points there are sharp, and that's smooth. It doesn't make any sense, does it? And then something really caught my eye. It just blew me away. I went over here and saw that. Now, there's a lot of speculation of what this could be, but in my mind, there's no doubt what it is. It was a statue, of course, but I call it the fallen bull because this statue is a huge bull. I measured it, and it's 1.5 miles long. It is huge. It is humongous. If this was carved from one piece of rock, there'd be no way to move it. These people that lived here with 500-foot columns and stuff, they must have been huge. It must have been 20, 30 feet tall or something. But anyway, this bull is laying on its side, and you can definitely see the head. It has a head on it, the shape of the head, see it by the shadows. You can see a muzzle. You can see the nostrils. You can even see a mouth. You can see the eye. You can see the ear. That is definitely a head of a bull-type creature, no doubt about it. You can see the torso comes down, and you can see the right rear leg comes out. It's broken off far down, and the left rear leg, even at the bottom there, comes down, and it's broken off further up, and it's got a big ass on it. So I don't know. It fell over, probably mounted right here, and the front legs are probably underneath the dust somewhere. So in this area, I backed off from that, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And then I just noticed something really peculiar from that. This looks like a roundabout. This looks like, you take your vehicles and drive it in, and you drive around, and it's got statues in the middle and statues on the right and statues on the left. And down here we've got a pyramid with part of it blown off. We got some other building type remains there to the right of that. And I mean, they're scattered all over the place, statues and buildings, but a lot of them are buried. Here's maybe another statue that's right in the middle, buried a bit. Looks like a sitting somebody on their back with pants and a foot, a couple feet. Looks like they have their pants off, maybe a groin, and arms, and then the head's kind of blowing off of it, or the face is. So it's kind of mutilated. It's a little hard to see on that one. But right in this one spot, here we've got the bull in the building, and the pyramid, and that statue, and but now I think you have to have more supporting evidence of life in this spot to even support that. So I started looking down I thought I'd travel a little bit down the canal and start looking around. And of course I found more stuff around that particular spot, a lot more stuff, but it's not quite as well defined. And but it's all over the place. And but I came down here, and I was looking along the canal, and I thought, oh, there's a very interesting place right there, because that almost looks like a property line around this thing, and it's kind of buildings, ruins on the right. And then I saw that one right by the canal again. What's left of that one? It looks like a big field or something. But this is a building ruins of some kind. And we can see that on these ruins, part of the building is remaining. The rest is probably underneath the dust somewhere. But there's columns here, evenly spaced. You can see 3 of them in the front. There's some in the back too, but 3 in the front. And this one's really unusual because the columns are completely polished still. They're like they're almost new. And these columns have column caps. You can see the column caps clearly on these columns. So this is basically an architectural style that maybe was used in Egypt or somewhere like that. You've got a big roof, and you've got columns, and you've got column caps. But these columns are still polished. It's amazing. They're still polished. Okay, then I asked myself, okay, with the buildings here, where are all the statues? And so I started looking around a little bit. Where's statue? And I scrolled up a little bit, and then I went, what is that? Right there. What is that? What is that? Okay, you tell me, what is that? I mean, okay, we've heard about the stories of the Mars rover taking pictures of the Easter Island head, and it's black, and you can't make out really whether it's an Easter Island head or not, or is it or isn't it. This is clearly visible. This is clearly, and this is on Google Mars. You can look this up yourself. Go to Google Mars. You can see this yourself. This is a statue, and we've got the top of the head, we have the forehead, we have the nose coming down, very defined nose, two eyes, very defined eyes. You can almost see the eyelids on this guy, and you've got an ear, and you've got something that looks like a mouth, mustache, or a beard, or something that's kind of messed up. But this head also sits on a great big column with a cap on it. You can see the cap is round. It's a little bigger than the column, and the column is polished right there in the bottom of the head. And it probably goes 300 feet in the ground. So I figured this was a great big head on top of a big column. So it's strange. And right to the right of it, it looks like a little sphinxy creature, 2 legs, a head, and a body. Although it's kind of underneath the dust, so you can't see it well. It's not that defined. But to support this head, right to the left of it, another statue. A great statue. I call this the Fallen Woman. I figure this statue was 1,200 to 1,500 feet high when it was standing, before it fell over. But here you can see that there's a head on it. You can clearly see that there used to be hair that comes down. And if you look real close, you can almost see where the nose was, or the nose is underneath dust. You can almost see a nose and a face on it. It almost looks like it maybe had a beard, so it could be a guy. Looks like it had a robe of some kind, or a coat. It comes down, here's the right arm, comes down to a sleeve, and then there's a hand on it. At the bottom there, a hand. Well, gee, there has to be another one, so you look on the left side, and there is an arm. The arm comes down, it's underneath the dust, you can't see it that well, but you can follow it down, and you can see the cuff, and you can actually see another hand across from the other one that's kind of resting on the robe. So there are 2 hands, and there are 2 arms. There's a torso, there's a head, there's hair, there's what's left of a face. That is clearly a statue. There's no way around it. So we have 2 clear statues right there on Mars. An Easter Island head statue, and a statue of a man or a woman with 2 arms and hands, and a face and a head, and hair. And right below this statue, the fallen woman statue is looks like the base of it. And I think this was probably resting in front of the statue when it was erected. And it looks like some kind of a trophy or an urn or something right here. It has a round base on it, skinny, and it goes up into a chalice type of thing with a cup. It almost has 2 handles on it, almost, it appears. And so this is some kind of a chalice or an urn or something that rested in front of this great big fallen woman statue. And it's clear as day. And so here we've got a statue graveyard. We've got building up there, we've got a fallen bull, we've got a fallen woman, we've got Easter Island head, we've got a little sphinxy guy, we've got building ruins with columns and caps, and there are all other sorts of building ruins all over here, more covered and not definitive as well. This is a smoking gun. This is a smoking gun. I went into this as a skeptic, thinking, oh yeah, life on Mars, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But this has convinced me that there definitely was life on Mars at one time. And it was humanoid in nature. And the question is, how did these things find their way to Earth? How did an Easter Island head find its way to Earth? How did a Sphinx find its way to Earth? How did these statues, the way they're made and everything, find their way to... How did this megalithic construction with columns and caps find its way to Earth? Okay. That's the big question I have now. Not that if there was life on Mars or not, because this shows there was life on Mars. It's You can go to Google Mars and look at this yourself. It's irrefutable. There was life on Mars. So the question we have to ask is, how come this stuff is showing up on Earth too? There's something they're not telling us. NASA has to know this stuff exists. They took the pictures. So again, like I said, you're not going to find this anywhere. This is the first place that you'll see this stuff, because I've looked around for a year and a half and I haven't been able to find it anywhere. I even went to NASA stuff and looked through there. It was not there. But you know what? Like I said, sometimes you have to look in the most obvious places, and that was the most obvious place I could find on this planet. I looked there and I found it. It's amazing. And you can too. You can go to Google Mars and you can look at this. You can see the ocean where it was. You can see where my little, right in the middle there, where that is, the little peninsula by that ocean, and those two little canals. You can find it yourself and look at it, and you can even find more stuff than I did, I'm sure, if you scour around that area. Maybe not as well defined, but it's there. There's a lot of ruins around there. A lot of columns, buildings of columns you'll find buried and stuff. You can still see the columns. So that's my deal. I mean, I'm a skeptic that I'm now convinced that there was life on Mars, but I don't know how that life found its way to Earth, because that stuff is so similar to what's on Earth. It's crazy. Anyway, go to Mars yourself and look this up. It's kind of unusual. I must have had a lot of time to burn to find these, but it's really weird. Like I said, it's not out there. This is the first time you'll see it. And happy hunting. Have fun.